Thank you for watching this two-part video summarizing the Mayport Resilience Study. This video explains options to make Mayport's roads more resilient to flooding. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the first episode about how vulnerable the area's roads are to flooding now and in the future. In 2019, the North Florida Transportation Planning Organization, or North Florida TPO, conducted a resilience study. Its focus was on the vulnerability of the region's roadways to climate change stressors, including various types of flooding associated with sea level rise. The project mapped potentially vulnerable roadways and stormwater systems and developed a toolbox of potential adaptation actions. These concepts were incorporated into the region's 2045 Long-Range Transportation Plan. One of the more vulnerable areas identified in this work is Mayport. The purpose of this study is to identify strategies to make roadways in the area more resilient. We're currently seeking public opinion on the resilience options.
The project area includes 3 roadway segments. Segment A, encompassing A1A from Wonderwood Drive to Fort George Ferry Terminal. Segment B, encompassing Wonderwood Drive from A1A to Mayport Road. And Segment D, encompassing Wonderwood Drive and Seminole Road from Mayport Road to Seminole Gate.
Mayport's roadways are very vulnerable to present and future flood risks, including flooding from a 100-year storm, storm surge, and sea level rise. Some roadway segments are more vulnerable than others. To make this clear, we rank the vulnerability of each roadway segment to all kinds of flooding, from low to high. Consider A1A. Segment A1 was classified as low vulnerability, shown in dark green, because it is unlikely to be underwater under any flooding scenario, except a storm surge associated with a Category 2 hurricane. Segment A3, shown in red, is classified as highly vulnerable because all flooding scenarios could affect it, including sea level rise as soon as 2035. Sections A2 and A4 of A1A have moderate to high vulnerability.
For Wonderwood Drive between State Road A1A and Mayport Road, segment B1, shown in bright green, has a moderately low vulnerability level. Segment B2, close to the intersection with Mayport Road, has a moderately high vulnerability level.
Most of Wonderwood Drive and Seminole Road within Hanna Park have low vulnerability, except the middle section, D2, which is moderately vulnerable.
We developed adaptation options for roadways with moderate vulnerability level or higher. Adaptation strategies vary depending on the specific needs of each roadway segment and have been classified as near-term, 0 to 5 years, mid-term, 5 to 15 years, and long-term, 15 to 20 years. Potential adaptation strategies include raising the roads by 1 to 2 feet. A more longer-term option could include replacing an existing road with a bridge, armoring roadside slopes and adjacent areas by constructing riprap, a below embankment wall, or living shorelines, and finally, improving drainage connections by upgrading cross-drain capacity or replacing existing bridges.
Not all adaptation options have the same cost or benefit. These differences are important to consider. That's because resources are always limited and priorities must be established. We have preliminarily ranked the adaptation options for each roadway segment using the following criteria. Concept level estimates of probable construction costs were evaluated for each adaptation option. Environmental impact to adjacent surface waters or wetlands and other environmental impacts were considered. Societal impact, including maintenance of evacuation routes, emergency access, or increased travel time for alternate access, obstructed view sheds, and requirements for eminent domain, among other factors, were considered. Construction feasibility was considered, as was the ability of the solution to address flood risks over time. This table presents these considerations for the segments of A1A. Items in green are more favorable, while items in red are less favorable. In the rightmost column, we've combined these considerations into a single favorability score for each option that could be used to prioritize action in the future.
This table presents these same considerations for adaptations along Wonderwood Drive and Seminole Road. Again, green items are more favorable, while red items are less favorable. So what do you think? Based on this overview, we want your feedback on adaptation options for each segment. The following sections of this website includes a survey with more detail on the adaptation options for Mayport's roadways. Once you have reviewed these options, we ask that you rank them from most favorable to least favorable. If you have additional comments about any of the strategies or anything else you've learned, or would just like to share your thoughts about this area's resilience, we want to hear from you. Thank you very much for your participation, and we look forward to getting your feedback.